Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing okay. I hope you guys had fun with the candle that we just witnessed. That was quite something. That was quite something. Hello, Rovelo Borebetedo. How are you, brother? I hope everyone's doing great. I hope you're having fun trading that schizo price action. That was quite something to see. I'm so happy that we went all the way up to H4. 100 MA, that would have been a shame to just go there only to die again. But yeah, pretty schizo to see in one H4 candle you break through the first must reclaim, you type into the second must reclaim only to close back below the first one. That's quite something. But yeah, I was pretty excited before the stream, and I'm a little bit late. I'm sorry, but I needed to close a few things, manage a couple of trades before launching the stream, so I wanted to have this down. I have not been able to capture the move from 85 to 90k, but I made up a little bit for it with a small, very small if short taken on the H4 trend retests, where I'm almost more than 2/3 out by now. Pretty lucky entry, lucky timing. Was on the road, but managed to enter a 1/10 size small scalp just to feel something, because I have not been trading much since last week H4 200 MA retests. So I wanted to feel something, so I went for it. But unfortunately, nothing fancy, nothing too big, nothing very exciting, to be honest. But yeah, so that's why I'm a little bit late. Sorry about that. But yeah, so for today's stream, classic. We start with Bitcoin H4 daily updates. For the Aven members who were here yesterday for the stream yesterday afternoon, it's probably a little bit of repeat, unfortunately. But then we can, same thing for ETH, particularly ETH BTC. For anyone that's been following the updates, we can see now that indeed losing H4 200 MA was the end for the ETH fun and relative strength. And this is why I went for it instead of BT for the scalp shot. I did catch a small scalp shot on ETH on BTC at H4 100 MA, but even smaller than the one I took on ETH. So pretty irrelevant. Again, I don't want to participate too much in the price action since we got the H4 200 MA retest last week. But still, end of the day, my monkey brain still wanted to participate. And I think I did not share the live on Twitter, so I'm gonna do so. Maybe it's gonna bring a couple more people, even if I would assume that a lot of people are pretty tired of this price action. We cannot be too surprised about that, to be honest. It's not like if we had pristine price action more than this. So yeah, let me find, where did I said I would be? Fuck it. Going live. Come discuss this Skyzo PA with me and see what could be next. But yeah, obviously, I wish I sized more on this scalp short, but it's inside trading, right? It's inside trading. So cannot blame myself too much, but still that would have been good to feel something more than this. But yeah, in any cases, I hope everyone's doing great. We are close to the end of the year now, and the more we are below daily trend into the end of the year, the less I am inclined to trade much more than this outside of small intraday scalps like the one I just discussed. But yeah, pretty brutal, and if keeps dumping, it's gonna go straight for the last target. I might extend it, to be honest. At this point, with the profits taken, may as well just let it run. But yeah, I hope not. Otherwise, it would likely mean that BT is getting ravaged. But I would much rather for BT at this point to just chill over here until, I don't know, another try or whatever. But yeah, it's been pretty brutal. Also, I'm still a little bit sick, so I'm sorry if you hear me coughing and things like this. And it might also be the reason, outside of absolute trash tier price action, that the stream might be a little bit shorter today, unless you have a lot of things for me to watch. But yeah, a little bit sick, so sorry in advance. In addition to the broken Franglish, you're gonna have to hear me cough a couple of times, I think. So you're gonna get through it. If you are spending your day watching this price action, you can get through a stream of someone coughing in your ears. But yeah, so okay, without waiting much more than that, if you watch the recent updates, whether it's in the Haven, whether it's on Twitter or in the Telegram, you know that since the beginning of the week, basically the two main focuses we've had were must reclaim the H4 100 MA. I'm gonna highlight it for you a little bit more by removing some other imaginary lines so that you can see why it was relevant to me at the beginning of the week and why it was such a big retest for me 30 minutes ago. But you can see how well it's been respected for the past month, I would say. But yeah, so pretty clean resistance, broken, flipped support, gave the cap fill to 200 EMA, started cracking down, and now apparently flipped resistance. So yeah, at the beginning of the week, the main idea we had was, okay, if that was it, if that was just a Sunday fuckery, you want to see BT rapidly back above this region, so the first must reclaim we had. And if it gets denied and loses Sunday lows, then expect a retest of 85, 86k, which has been a key level for us. It's even clearer when we get into the daily time frame. You can see that this entire box is kinda the place you want to see strength when it's retested. And once that was retested, the second main idea was, okay, so now we want to see the confluence of Sunday lows plus H4 downtrend to be reclaimed. And if it's reclaimed, we're expecting to see a move back to H4 100 MA. I was definitely not expecting to see it happen in one candle. I was more expecting, I don't know, to see something like this, you know, and unfortunately not just one spike into it. It kind of makes me think this might have been Sailor's second clip of the week. Or at least I'm suspecting that last week, the H4 200 MA retest we saw were mostly Sailor buying, when we know that he bought almost $1 billion last week. I sincerely hope that I mean, end of the day, it doesn't change shit, right? Whether it was Sailor or not that caused that candle. End of the day, we don't care. What we care about is what comes next. Unfortunately, we can see that it fully retraced. But if early next week he tells us that he has a average entry of his buys at 88.8 or 89.5, I might not be surprised. But again, pretty irrelevant, just pretty crazy to see. Judging by ETH weakness this week, I would assume that Tom Lee is not buying this week, or maybe he bought at the beginning of the week. But yeah, that's pretty much what it's been for us lately, right? It's C price action being pretty shit. And again, can we even say it's been shit? I mean, it's been brutal. It's been very Barty. But end of the day, most of the very good scalper I know have been enjoying this price action. And I've been able to execute very well on key levels which have been pretty well respected. End of the day, this is your range high, this is your range low, this is your mid range. And yeah, for example, in the Haven, we have a new kind of analyst, what we call Rising Star. His name is Flop. And for example, he is a fantastic scalper. And he absolutely nailed the move from 85, 86 to 90k, which he just exceeded. right at 90k, 90.2k exit. So yeah, so I don't even think we can say it's turbo shit price action for someone who's good at scalping and who has discipline. But obviously, if you're not necessarily scalping lower time frame, and if you're waiting or expecting some sort of unfolding of the recent range, yeah, it's been pretty brutal. It's been very Barty. It's kind of giving me vibes of 2019 end of 2018, 2019 kind of price action. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, basically we are back in the situation where we want to see 87.5, 88.5k broken, what we just failed to do. And until it's the case, we all eyes on the 85, 86k region and basically lose it. And I'm expecting to see maybe not new lows, but at least retest of the lows, I would say. Maybe they're tagged, defended into Turbo Chop Fest for the end of the year. But in any cases, no bueno. For me, in terms of positioning, outside of the 2 small scalps I took on this candle right before the stream, I have not been doing much. Most of the time when we have this kind of price action where we have a very strong H4 trend, whether it's to the upside or to the downside, at the moment it starts cracking, my main objective is to catch gap fills. So the first one to 100 EMA, the second one to 200 EMA. It's been pretty chaotic, but we ended up getting both gap fills, even if they were less interesting when they happened than at the beginning of the H4 trend break. But basically my approach usually on this kind of situation is that every longs I'm gonna take in this situation is a counter trend long, because basically you're fighting with the daily downtrend. So whenever I see that we have the H4 200 ml retests that I wanted, unless they are broken and flipped, in which case I would be looking for the next gap fill. If they are not broken, usually it means that I need to back off and let things unfold a little bit. And it's pretty much what happened. Main regret, as I said, was not to capture that move from 85 to H4 100 MA, because once again, very clean horizontal level, plus very good invalidation. Very good invalidation, because the invalidation you could have, and which was the one flop shared in the oven, was if we don't defend that anyway, we are going back to the lows. So it's pretty much the last stand for bulls in this region to give some sort of a retest. So my main regret so far this week is not to capture that. But once again, inside analysis, I don't know if I would have held the position after this rejection over here. So it's an insight regret, still a regret nonetheless. But yeah, basically been doing nothing since last week, Wednesday. So for the past 7 days. And I'm back at mostly monitoring and watching the daily downtrend. If you watched the recent streams, or if you watch the recent analysis, once again, whether it's on Twitter, on Telegram, or in Discord, you know that for me, that daily chart is the main focus for me and the main thing I'm watching, and particularly that daily downtrend, which has been the same one since 112, with so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bearish retests. The good thing is that, so I'm going to explain a little bit more. When I get the daily trend retests, so the H4 200 MA retests and gap fill, most often than not, it means that the daily trend has cut down with price, which means that once I'm out and I'm waiting to see if it breaks or not, I'm going to miss less than when we printed the local bottom. So what I'm trying to say here is that when we have wide gaps to play, it means that there is a big distance before the counter trend retest, in that case daily trends, and I'm willing to capture these retests. While once they're done, most often they're not, it means that we are kissing with the daily trend. In that case, I would rather just be out and wait for the daily trend to be broken. I have less to lose by being out than when we have wide gaps, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if it's clear, but that explains a little bit more why I've been pretty much doing nothing over the last 7 days, outside obviously of very good weather in the Alps. But even if I have good weather and good snow in the Alps, if I have good price action, I will focus on trading rather than skiing, end of the day. Watching your WOP education and receiving a stream notif can't be better. Hello, Alex. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. And there should be a new educational video today. in the Whoop educational library. It's one that I made following I think it was on these charts. No, it's a video I made after a very good question I got last week. When I was streaming last week, I had a question from a member who asked me how I was executing when we have a strong close above the daily trend and it's quite far away from price. That's more of a good example where it's quite far away from price and quite far away from H4 200 EMA and how I'm approaching it. So I made a dedicated educational video for it. Nothing too new if you have read the educational content, because it's kind of a mix of few concepts that I'm already discussing in the library. But yeah, it's coming in Whoop. I would say by the end of the day, it's in Swiss hands to publish it. Sorry, Jesus. Were you considering cutting far too long on failure to reclaim H4 200 here? Yeah. That's my main. That's the main shit thing. This is what I updated in the channel yesterday. I said that we wanted to see this region reclaimed, and we can see that so far it's once again failing. It's a little bit more complicated to cut here because it could very well just do a higher low here and chop west a little bit more. Basically, if Bitcoin manages to do kind of the same and just like chop around in this region, the long could be saved. But yeah, so for now I'm letting it develop like this. What's helping that decision, Lobo Reventado, is that it's not a full position, right? So I'm giving it more space to survive, basically. But yeah, my stop is below the low we printed on Tuesday, so yesterday. Because if it's lost, then I won't fight it, and unfortunately that was it, and we only got target one on 20% size, and then target one missed when we were back in 50%. So I'm letting it develop a little bit, but yeah, if Bitcoin rolls over, then it's likely going to get stopped. If I was not already 50% position, Lobo, I would probably cut half here. But I'm already in partial sizing over there. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Then if continues to get wrecked. But yeah, so okay. For BT and for BT, the two main focuses you should have right now is the lows we printed earlier this week plus 85-86k. I believe it's the region you want to see defended, otherwise we might very well just come back for the retests. Outside of that, if you're not too much into lower time frame price action, I believe you can very much just stick to the daily time frame and chill and wait for the daily downtrend break before green button. Again, particularly after we already retested it 2 times last week. We are in the kind of market situation where I keep spamming when and not where. This is something I basically spam CT and the Haven with every B market. Because I often get the question, where do you think we bottom? Where do you want to buy that? Yada yada. The unfortunate truth is that I'm way too dumb to know where we're gonna bottom. So I'm never or where we're gonna top actually. So I'm never trying to be the guy that I'm not Jesser, I'm not Ping. I don't know. I'm not the big guys of City. So yeah, I focus on where over where, and to me, we will have a local bottom when we break daily downtrend. If it can be at 95k, 92, 93k in confluence with yearly open, that would be fantastic, because I believe that the next trade would be pretty straightforward. That would be to capture this move. Sorry. If it has to be lower, then may it be lower. The lower the Bitcoin price, the more I have. So yeah, keep this in mind. When above where, you're not going to be able to flash very sexy PNL card with turbo bottom entries. But you're likely going to avoid a lot of shit show in between. And always remember that the people on CT or in your Discord group chat or whatever who come and flash a very sexy PNL card, they often hide the fact that behind that successful bottom catch, there might be 10 missed trades and 10 trades stopped, meaning unless they don't have proper regular risk management, they would need a 10R trade to make up just for the attempt of catching the bottom. So don't be fooled by PNL card on CT or in your group chats. Focus on your trading. And if you're a mid-curve trader like me, this is probably a very good approach. Where you consider, okay, so that I already answered. Kind of too late now. Okay, so already answered to you, Lobo. As I said, giving it the opportunity to bounce a little bit more, but if it cannot manage to show strength very quickly, it's likely gonna get cut. And if I was not already half position, I would probably have taken half off. I will take chat requests. So let me open the block notes. So we have ZRO. Wow, it's a while. It's been a while. I didn't check this chart. How do you determine that grid box at the bottom? Is that an order block? It's not really an order block. It's not really precise. It's more of a place, a region that I consider interesting. There is nothing very scientific about it. Big pie. It's more a region that I would want to see some defense, but it could very well it could be just that, you know. But I know that there is a proper science behind, or at least proper approach behind all the blocks. I usually just do it at gut feeling and places in the same way that it's not because it closed a picos millimeter above that it matters to me. As I said, today's educational video for the Haven is actually pretty much about that, because it's precisely about how do I treat a close above or below the trend that I'm watching, and it could very well be 0.5 above or 1% above. How do I approach it? But it's not too much about a very precise thing. But again, I know that some people do have quite the precision with the boxes they're watching. They're calling it FVG, those kind of things. But again, I'm way too dumb for that. I just draw places of interest more than anything else. Okay. Hey, do you play compression like ZRO? We're gonna watch it in a minute. I find myself changing risk amount too often. Do you have a set of rules depending on market conditions or time frame of trade or something else that you use to define your risk amount? I don't have a written, like, I don't have a strict rule like with a board that says here is how much I risk in that particular condition. However, I tend to adjust risk on how confident for me, there are going to be two factors that are going to make me reduce or increase risk. The first thing is how confident I am in the market. Like, did I just had successful week trades or month trades? Do I feel confident in my read in the market or not? For example, over the past 2 months, I feel like I've been trading like shit. I've missed, outside of losing trades, I've also missed a lot of insane daily downtrends in alts, for example. And obviously that makes me vastly less confident in the market. So that's gonna impact. And when I say reduce, that's usually, instead of taking a 1 hour trade, I'm gonna take a quarter of it, and sometimes even less than that. So that's gonna be the first thing. And that's why there cannot really be a proper strict rules, because it's much more gut feeling. And the second thing is how respected the trend has been on when I trade. If we are in a very trendy market, I'm gonna be much more inclined to play aggressively and increase risk. But I don't necessarily have a strict rule on that. It's very much gut feeling how I feel, how I feel with the market. I used to have a rule about that, Warwick. That was if on the time frame I'm focused, the trend has not been respected. So lost, reclaim. I divide the risk by 5 and I try to divide the frequency of trading by 5. And usually it means take a part of your money, open a separate account, trade with that small amount so that you satisfy your will to trade. A little bit like the trade I took earlier on ETH was exactly just that. I'm very much not comfortable with the market lately, and I wanted to feel something still, so I went with a very reduced size trade just to feel something basically. But no golden rule on that, Warwick. I would assume that someone like Krillin might have a much more strict and disciplined approach about that. So maybe you can ask him, and maybe it's actually discussed in his article about risk management in Whoop, if you have not read it yet. I don't know if he made a video about it, but I also think it's something he has discussed a couple of times during his one-on-one session. So don't hesitate to tag/asking. Maybe we'll have a much more actionable answer than me on that. But in general, what I could tell you is that it's what I often say is that you seem to know what the problem is. And by what you're telling me, there is an easy fix. It's that take the lowest risk you would say when you say that you find yourself changing risk amount. Take the lower part of that and stick to it. Only raise it up again when you're gonna be on a streak or something like this. But yeah, Krillin has a very good work video on the risk depending on market condition. I knew he had one. I remember seeing one from him, but I was not sure. So yeah, Warwick, don't hesitate to go and check or ask in the channel if someone knows exactly what video it is. But yeah, Krillin has a video on that, and he's a much more organized, disciplined trader than I am. So I would not be surprised if he actually has a set of rules of that. Okay, so ZRO, you can shoot chat requests, by the way, guys, if you want. We basically covered the main thing we wanted to talk about on Bitcoin at this point. So let's just do chat requests from here if you guys have any chat requests, and if you don't, then we just shut the stream off and that's it. I guess I did not talk about ETH BTC much, but yeah, again, if you've been watching the streams over the past few weeks, if you've been in the Yavin, if you've been on Telegram, if you've been on Twitter, you know that the main thing I've been watching for ETH BTC was the break of the daily downtrend, and that when we had the break of daily downtrend, I would expect a move to daily 100 MA. And you probably also know that I have a set of rules to define if a trend is lost or reclaimed, and that's a close above the trend itself and 200 EMA in the -1 time frame broken and flipped. Why? Because you can see here, for example, or here, we have closes above the daily trend. But to have a confirmation that it's not a fake out, we go into H4. And if it was H4, we would go into H1. And we want to see how the fight with -1 200 EMA is going. And we can see that, okay, close above daily trend, but H4 200 EMA instantly lost. Same thing here, same thing here. While at the opposite, early December, we have a significant break of H4 200 EMA, close above daily trend. This is where you know that you want to be playing. This is where you know that you want to be playing a potential break of ETH BTC. Actually, I had a tweet on that day. First significant break attempt of breaking daily downtrend on ETH BTC, and therefore daily trend plus H4 200 EMA is a must hold, and daily 100 EMA is the main upside for target. We came for the retests. We defended it. We filled the gap. End of the trade. And unfortunately for ETH BTC, we can see that loss of H4 200 EMA again, back to not being strong versus Bitcoin anymore, and back basically to the same situation we were over here. So for me, the window of interest for ETH, and the window in which I would be more inclined to trade ETH than Bitcoin has ended when we filled the gap to daily 100 MA, which was the main upside target, and when we failed to defend H4 200 MA. And that's why indeed that I went for ETH on the scalp short earlier, but yeah. Again, sorry, I'm sick, but yeah. So yeah, and you can actually see the rule I mentioned. You want to see daily trend above daily above daily trend plus H4 above H4 200 MA. We didn't even get the second condition with Bitcoin above daily downtrend, but that was enough for ETH to fill the gap. So yeah, looking back, that was a banger tweet, to be honest. It gave the target, it gave the entry on the retest, it gave the target, Pico precise, and unfortunately, that was it for the ETH BTC strength. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna add hype. I did not look at hype in quite some time. I can check GBP USD if you want. Aljaz Drog. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna call you Aljaz because I can't say your name. We can take a very quick look at BCH for you. Lobo. Yeah, it's Forex, but I can take a look if you want. Maybe my monkey brain and imaginary lines can have something to say about it, but we'll see. Let's start with BCH and then we'll do ZRO. So BCH was and is still one of the very few coin that I was interested about last week. Why? Because you probably, maybe you know, if you've been in the event or if you watch the streams, that when we have this kind of structure that I call EMA compression, when I want to see the trend defended above the compression for it to be a proper exit and then to chase moves. So basically what I wanted to see was this orange box to be defended so that I can long and try to at least get a move back to this region. But unfortunately, as you can see, we ended up closing back inside the compression and we are still stuck below. So this is why I updated earlier Lobo in my dedicated thread for BCH. If you're not in, don't hesitate to join it. But this is basically what I updated earlier, is that I want to see a daily close back above 560, 570 and hold above it. If/when I might be interested to try and capture a trade like this. I think it could be doable in a world where Bitcoin holds above 85, 86 and basically chop between 85, 86 and 90K until New Year's Eve, basically. So when if it gives us a window of chop fest during holidays, maybe that could be enough for some alt to do some things. Maybe BCH could be one of those. I don't know. But for now, what's sure is that as long as it's stuck below 560, 570, I'm gonna stay patient with it. Ideal development would have been not that, but basically come for the retest and hold above here, obviously. But the fact that it failed to do so is forcing me to be a little bit more patient. I'm gonna set some alerts right now. I'm gonna put in one over here and I'm gonna put in one in the 85s. I don't think I'm gonna trade it, but it's just to be aware if we come for the retest or not. And I will do what I always do. So wait, I'm gonna add a little bit of context. Close D1 back above here, plus BTC not cheating the bed, equal potential long aiming for the eyes for the end of the year. It's some big suppositions, but if stuck inside D1 EMA compression, forget about it, let it chop. And I'm gonna do what I always do when we do chat requests. I will share them all in the Telegram after the stream so that you can have access to those charts after. Wait, there's something I wanted to watch on BT. I wanted to see if we lost to the lows from earlier today. We did not. Could have an argument for a scalp long aiming even just for 88k, but do I even want to bother with that? I don't think so. But I could see it. Okay, anyway. Hey Pierre, today I sold my spot if I bought at 4k and Sol I bought at 255. Sorry man, I'm actually feeling lost right now. What do you think I should do now? It's a complicated question. Usually when I get this question, people have not sold yet and they're asking me what should I do with that. And my answer most of the time is that there is no good answer. If I tell you to sell now and it bounces, you will hate me. And if I don't tell you to sell and it keeps dying, you're gonna hate me. It's a tough situation to be in, Max, because that basically means that you've just accepted some losses and it sucks. I've been there a few times. The only thing I can tell you is that I don't know if you had any detailed plan for these positions, and that the exit today is because of the plan you had. If your plan was to sell at current prices because of any reason you had, then you followed your plan, and I don't think you can blame yourself too much more than this. Otherwise, the only thing you can do is probably reduce risk per trade, reduce frequency of trading, and be patient. Most of the time, at least I know for me, when I take bad losses, the best thing I can do is get the fuck out, avoid the market for a few days at least, if not more, because this is usually where emotion takes over. And if I see price bouncing from the places I exited, then my monkey brain want to get back into it. And this is where you start snowballing mistakes. So yeah, I would say take a break, maybe even just come back by the end of next year, or by the beginning of next year. You will have a much fresher view on the market. You will probably have a much relaxed view also. Start journaling and maybe start making plans with clearer and tighter invalidations. The main mistake a lot of people do, and I think it's been very brutal over the last 2 years in crypto, is that we have a big philosophy of holding things in CT. And I know that's what used to wreck me, because one of the main reasons I ended up building a system that follows trend and tries to respect trend is because after my first cycle, I quickly realized that I was very good at buying, no problem with that, but I was very bad at selling. And I basically had no edge on when to sell, whether it was to the downside on the lost trade or whether it was to take profits. And yeah, as I was saying, there is a big philosophy of holding on CT, because people think about those people who bought Bitcoin in 2011 and all this time and are now selling and they're turbo billionaires. And people equate holding to easy. They tell themselves, I'm just buying, I'm not gonna trade. Trading is hard, I'm not gonna trade, I'm just gonna hold. The truth is that what makes you think you have what it takes to hold things in a very volatile market? What makes you think that you're gonna be able to hold? And maybe you will, but the main mistake people do is that they buy thinking, oh, it's spot, I can't get liquidated and I'm just gonna forget about it. Trust me, brother, you're not going to forget about it. Majority of people don't forget about it, whether it's $20, $500, 25k, I don't care. The only way to avoid that is, even if you buy spot telling yourself that you're gonna hold for the long term, you still need an invalidation. You still need a plan to exit, whether it's to the upside or to the downside, because if you don't have a plan to sell, to pay yourself, you are not going to pay yourself and you're just going to round trip everything. And if you don't have a plan to exit to the downside, you might very well end up holding something like Atom. Maybe you're gonna end up holding something that does that for the past 2 years, 4 years. I don't know. But yeah, so the only thing you can do is that fine, trade on the long term, trade with the idea that you're gonna hold for a long time. But if that's the case, it means you still need an exit strategy. You still need a plan to exit, whether it's to pay yourself to take your losses. It can be a very wide invalidation. But if that's the case, you need to adjust your size. You need to adjust the fact that yeah, it's if you buy telling yourself, oh, it might go down another 40% and I might only be able to sell in 3 years, then size it accordingly. Like, and in that case, that means potentially planning by a DCA, planning to buy every month, every week. I don't care. Something that's gonna lift, that's gonna flatten. I'm losing my English already, but something that's gonna smooth the price of your entry. But in any cases, as I was saying, even if you're buying spot, you need an exit strategy. And the same way, not everyone is made to be a turbo Chad lower time frame scalper. Maybe majority of people are not made to hold an asset for 10 years without worrying about it. Like, it's just a. This is why when new members every cycle on CT say things like, "Oh, you were just lucky to buy Bitcoin at 3K and sell now." Yeah, okay. Let's talk about it in 6 months when you take your first minus 30% on your bags, and then keep that for 7 years, and we'll see who was lucky. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, small rant, but Max, the only thing I can tell you is take a small break. Maybe even just come back early next year. The odds that you come back early next year and we have not made significant progress are fairly high. I hope to be wrong, but set some alerts, take a step back, set some alerts to the upside on levels that you consider that would need to be reclaimed to see a bigger bounce. For me, for example, it's 92, 94K. It's the confluence of daily downtrend plus yearly open. That would be a significant level to reclaim and to give a bigger bounce into the 100K. Set some alerts lower in places that you would be interested in buying. Maybe consider not buying back ETH and SOL. Maybe. That's up to you. But in any cases, work on making proper plans. Maybe journal your things. Even if you don't take 15 trades per day, you can still very much journal your journey and journal your thoughts and journal your plans. But don't be that guy that sold, accepted his losses, and then lost another 50% by trying to revenge trade it. Like, that never ends well. That never ends well. Why are you not shorting all the trend retest on altcoins? Complacency, the feeling of it's too late. But it's you just asked me, Toji, the main regret I've had. Most of the time I've thought about shorting alt recently. I either felt I was too late. It was either fighting right at daily trend but like hovering around it, or it was at the lows already. The main thing I'm very sad about over the past couple of months is not taking a single shot on XPL despite this very clean daily downtrend. So I have no excuses, Doji, and there is no reason not to do so. I've just been bad at trading over the past couple of months. I think there is a huge component of complacency, of at least not being in spot in those alts. Like, I keep telling myself, wow, the market is getting wrecked. It's been a tough cycle for altcoins. And it's been the first cycle for me where I was more focused on Bitcoin than altcoins. So I keep telling myself, well, at least I was focused on Bitcoin. At least I had a good cycle with Bitcoin. And I'm satisfied of being stable instead of grinding the downtrend retest on alts. So I guess it's a mix of complacency, laziness, but in any cases, nothing to be proud about. So it's clearly something I've been mad about. If we think about some recent examples, I don't know. Let's take AVAX for example. When it came for the daily trend retests, at this time we had Bitcoin that was potentially coming for H4 200 EMA, and it was many alts recently gave bearish retest of daily downtrend without going all the way up to H4 200 EMA, which in my book is the place to trade, is the place to short when we start getting the break of H4 100 EMA, H4 trend, etc. So a beginning of the explanation is what I told you, and then it's missing opportunities mostly. I've had fun shorting ETH, but I've missed pretty much all other shorts across the board. So it's clearly something that I'm the most disappointed about through this cycle. Like when I watch something like this, what's the excuse for not being short on AVAX? I guess after this candle, maybe even I thought that it would bounce further, but on this retest over here, anyway, fuck me. Fuck me. But I do think it's a big part of it is the complacency of knowing that, hey, at least I'm not getting wrecked. Yeah, you're not getting wrecked, but you're not making the best out of what your system offers. So, yeah. Yeah, that was me actually. I was up on a lot on ETH position, but missed selling, and yeah, holding killed me actually. I know it's not going to be comforting you much more than that, but you can be sure that we are 45 right now listening to the stream and watching the stream. I would guess that out of this 43%, 40 of us have been in a similar situation than you at some point. SMB Financial just below your post said, oh yeah, that was me, one trip, so much money. Now I take profits way too early and what my target get out without me. Still painful, but way, way better. This is why it's called PTSD, SMB Financial. And remember what I always say. For the 15 times my PTSD is gonna make me sell too early, there are gonna be 5 times where I wish I didn't sell. Most often than not, my PTSD is protecting me. It's the way I'm seeing it. It's the way I'm coping about it. I keep watching BT because I still think that there could be a scalp to take these highs over here. But I don't know if I can be bothered with that, to be honest. But I would not be surprised if we take this between now and the day close. But do I really want to bother? Alright, next chart request. We need to speedrun things a little bit. So ZRO, we had a question about a potential compression on it. What was the question actually? It was, hey, do you play compression like ZRO? It looks like downward compression on H4. Yeah. Oh, it reminds me of something. Someone made me watch a chart like this yesterday. I think it was AVH4. Yeah. Same chart. I do. And I'm gonna tell you the same thing I said earlier about BCH. For me, when I'm approaching EMA compressions, I consider them to be exited, whether it's to the upside or to the downside, when the trend is defended outside of it. We are on H4, so that means that I would need to see H4 trend defended below. So if ZRO continues to trade over here, retest H4 downtrend, get denied, for me it's confirmation that it exceeded the compression to the downside, in which case I think you want to short it. A very good example, and obviously same thing for the upside. A very good example of EMA compression was the main long we took last year at the end of the year on BTC. You can see strong daily trend starts to crack, come for the 100 MA retest, 100 MA cracks. This is your signal that EMA compression is coming, and you can see that we have several fake outs above and below, and in both cases daily trend immediately disrespected, while in that case we break to the upside, we come for the retest, we defend daily trend. Even if you don't take this setup, you can very much take the next retest. So for me, For me, when I approach compressions, when we start trading outside of it, this is my signal that I need to pay attention and that there might be a trade. And then the way I approach it is, if we get the trend retest, whether it's from the downside or from the upside, and it gets respected, then I know I want to position myself. The trigger is trend being defended outside of the compression. So maybe if I draw things a little bit better, if H4 trend starts to catch down like this, and we come for the retest and it's denied, then any trend retest below is a short. The main idea is that after EMMA compression, we expect trendy behavior. The three steps that keeps repeating in the cycle for me are: one, EMMA compressions that lead to trends, that leads to gap fills. When the trend ends and there are gaps to chase, the trend ends, gap fill, compression, next trend, which doesn't have to be in the same direction. And because what we expect after EMMA compression is trend, you understand why the condition for me to expect an exit of the compression is to see trend defended. But okay, if you make me watch a chart like this, my first reflex is telling myself, unlikely I want to trade that. When I see something like this, for me, it most often than not means that the daily trend is flat and we are hovering around it. If the daily trend is not respected, it means there is no trend. But yeah, what I see is that up, up. Anything in here is not of my interest. Anything above here is a potential long to capture the gap fill to daily 100 MA. And anything below these lows is probably a retrace back to the recent lows. This is usually how I rapidly analyze a chart that looks like this. And it goes with what I just told you, Alja. If we start trading above these highs, it probably means that on H4, we are defending an H4 trend outside of the compression, and same thing with the lows over here. So it's probably a game of no trading zone, D1 trend disrespected. When I say a trend is disrespected, it means when it's lost, reclaimed, lost, disrespected. Long territories aiming for D1 100 MA gap fill. For that to happen, we would probably need Bitcoin to go for the retest itself. I have a very hard time expecting something like Zedero to pull a move by itself. Short territories aiming for the lows, basically. And maybe you can have a tighter region, but you get the point. Basically, most often than not, if I open a chart, whether it's on H4, daily or whatever, and I don't see an immediate setup to take, I usually just disregard. If it doesn't come to my highs immediately, it probably means that if I'm taking a setup there, I will later find reasons why it's not valid, and I will fuck the execution up. Let's do a little bit of Forex. Damn, this looks like BCH. This looks like BCH. Strong trend, gap fills, trying to exit. Strong trend, gap fills, trying to exit. Who asked for GDP USD? Okay, Alja. Well then, Alja, it's pretty much the same thought process than what we just discussed on Zedero, right? So, except it's on the daily. It's trying to exit a daily MMA compression. Therefore, as we just explained in details, what you want to see is the daily trend to be defended above it. If it defends it, then I would not be surprised if we start seeing GBP USD pumping. And if it cannot, then just chop fast. Obviously, we are talking about Forex here. There are probably dozens of factors at play with FX. There are probably a millions reasons for technical analysis to be not respected with Forex much more than with our imaginary internet coins. But if we forget about Forex and we stick to imaginary lines, that would be the main point of view for me on something like this. But again, I know close to nothing about Forex, and I would assume that there could be a millions reasons for technical analysis and my imaginary lines not to be respected. They seem to be fairly well respected, but I guess it's more coincidental than anything. But I remember making these posts in 2022 when GBP died. It's actually back to 30% from the 2022 lows. That's really nuts. But yeah, congrats Alja, you just made me watch a Forex pair. It doesn't happen very often. The only times I'm watching Forex is when I am converting my euro to dollar, and the opposite, as someone that works with burgers primarily, it's often clutch for me to decide what I want to do with my pays, if I want to keep them in euro or dollar, or even just from stable coins to euro, obviously. I shouldn't laugh about Forex because most of these charts look better than Bitcoin, to be honest. And are probably up more on the year than Bitcoin, yeah. Sorry. Okay, all that, come here. Don't defend that, come here. Okay, let's do hype. I don't know if you guys have a couple or more alts you want me to look at. It's the time to do so if you want to do so. Otherwise, I will just shut the stream. I used to have okay. I don't think it was this one. Anyway, I did not even notice them, man. I left for a week and I come back and hype is at 25. Okay. Okay. What was the question on hype? Good morning. Could you take a look at hype? Hello, AIDS. Let's do Zek and XMR. Okay. Okay. So hype. Remember what I said? Sorry. Remember what I said at the beginning of the stream when we talked about Bitcoin? I said that for me, when is more important than where? When it comes to buying and when it comes to positioning. It's true, obviously, with hype. And I would say that you could very much just focus on daily downtrend and avoid the green button until we are back above daily downtrend, basically. But we are still going to watch if there are any horizontal levels that seem significant enough to be put on the chart. But I do think that you can pretty much avoid the green button as long as price is below daily downtrend, and you're probably going to avoid a lot of shit show. It's been the same outside of this deviation. It's been the same daily downtrend since $40, so it's a 50% downtrend. But okay, daily downtrend, and you actually have a nice confluence over here with this low plus this retest. So personally, what I would do here is set some alerts above $30, and if it manages to get back above this region, we probably have some nice trades incoming, a gap fill to daily 200 MA or daily 100 MA, for example. I'm gonna write this down on the chart. Do nothing as long as sub daily downtrend. When the one above daily downtrend, then potential setup, potential gap fill setup up to daily 200 EMA and daily 100 EMA. Currently, E1 downtrend is in confluence with a clean daily SR flip to can add confluence to the setup. We're gonna take a look at the H4 after, obviously. But okay, what are the levels we traded a lot? So obviously, we had a long period of consolidation over here before dying out. I would say that low 20s would be quite something on hype. Grind down to low 20s long enough for daily downtrend to catch down into low 20s defense plus daily trend reclaim. As I said, with this approach of when above where, you you're unlikely not to be buying bottoms and selling turbo tops. But in a world where we get near to a bottom and consolidate some time over there, that means that the daily trend is going to catch down and flatten. The longer we consolidate at a level, if it ends up being a top or a bottom, the higher the odds that if you're focused on the trend, you're gonna catch a local bottom or local top. One of the best examples we've had over the past few years was the Bitcoin top at the end of last cycle. Let me get back to there. So you see, we get to the top, we spend quite some time above, which means that the daily trend got the time to go all the way up to 62K while the top was at 68, 69. We lose the trend at 60K. If you sold because of the loss of daily trends, you basically sold almost the Pico top. So yeah, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but what I'm saying is that even if indeed, if you're focused on, oh, I remember that, yeah, we had some trades. Even if you're less likely to catch a Pico bottom or a Pico top, if you have a period of consolidation at the lows, then it increases your odds of still getting a good entry while being focused. I would be very interested in, if I get this retest, I would be interested to short just as long as to long or to short, sorry. When I say this, obviously the opposite exists, right? Oh, actually, I think it's what Toji is saying. On hype, why don't you short the retest of hype? Because compared to the alts, it's not so low. Yeah, I agree. And this is why I put my alerts over here. Basically in that situation, I would be interested in shorting daily trend retests. And if I'm wrong, it turns into a potential long, basically. But yeah, for sure. And this is why I'm setting alerts on every alt that I'm being asked over the past 2 weeks. I'm basically setting alerts to the daily trends, and we see how it goes when it retests. I would even argue that it's probably an even better one than many alts that have already died quite a lot. What I'm saying here with that potential IDs short term is that this is these three tests of daily down right now at the moment we're talking. It would be these three tests of this region that would deliver the best setup for me, because if reclaimed, it's a very good long in my opinion. If we tested and denied, likely just continuation. Maybe I should precise it in the update. If when daily trend, then trend retested and denied again, short for continuation, basically. Main takeaway here is that for me, the next big area of interest for any trades on hype is in that is the daily trend region, basically. But yeah, of course, Toji, you're perfectly correct. You're perfectly correct. And basically, out of these opportunities, the main gaps would be obviously this one to daily 200 EMA and daily 100 EMA. But considering how daily 100 EMA is starting to shape up, it will likely catch down very rapidly, I would say. And obviously, the one to the downside is the one to the low 20s. I don't know if we get there. I have no idea. I cannot predict if we are going to get there. All I can do is highlight on the chart the places where I believe will be the next big interest to trade, and if / when we get there, execute basically. But yeah, Toji, you're 100% correct. Let's just take a look at H4. Maybe there is actually a setup on H4. Not so much. Not so much. Could have an argument for this retest over here, but I don't know. Seems a bit meh. Okay, that will be just daily then for hype. Let's see what it does. Let me drink a little bit of water, and then we will do ZEC XMR SPX, and then we'll end the stream. By you mean SPX, the real SPX, or the 69 XPX Alja? Okay, I'm drinking a little bit of water, and then we continue the chat request. Real SPX. It's sad that we have to ask nowadays. Okay, let's do ZEC. For me, I know ZEC it's gonna be pretty straightforward because I'm covering it on a daily basis. Do you remember when we discussed? I don't know if it was. I think it was Zedero. I basically said that when I start seeing a trend, like daily trend being disrespected, we spend below, we try to reclaim it, we fail to defend it. My main assumption is what I wrote on the chart, which was the same thing I did on Zedero, if you remember. The same idea where daily trend is flat in the middle and we chop fast around it. For me, it's pretty much the same idea right now for Zcash. For me, the next trade on Zcash would be on a retest of daily 100 MA and or on a new defended daily trend. Anything that's happening in between, I'm not very interested. So I'm basically just adjusting alerts as we develop. when I covered it on stream yesterday in the event, I said that I would have loved to beat the daily 100 MA retest here, but I was a little bit less confident with a retest, even if it had the confluence of previous lows. But I might very well just give it a shot anyway if I'm offered the opportunity. But yeah, for me, Zcash, end of the day, it's main idea. Daily trend disrespected, lost, reclaimed, lost, equals, not interested short term. Next trades on a retest of daily 100 MA and or a new defended daily trend. And until that's the case, I think you can just sit back and let it develop a little bit. Generally, not much to add for me on Zcash. Unsurprisingly, the entire H4 EMMS structure is pretty flat. That could very much just ping pong in that region for some time, as I said with that squiggly. Until then, yeah. And if you remember what we discussed at the beginning of the stream, I said the complacency of knowing that I'm not in position. It's the same thing again for Zcash. Did very well trading Zcash, end of Zcash to the upside. Good exits when H4 trend started to get disrespected. So, oh yeah, nice. It's going down and I exited basically, which is nice. But at the same time, this was a golden bearish retest. And I totally missed it. So you understand maybe a little bit better what I meant earlier by the complacency of not being wrecked. And maybe what explains a little bit why I've missed all these shorts, but I'm trying to find excuses for myself, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, Zcash, for me, that's the main idea. That's the main idea. Okay, XMR. XMR is one of those coins that I don't trade. I think I charted it over here. It's one of those very, very rare buy and forget coins for me. Fundamentally speaking, I do think that XMR is the only last true cryptocurrency we have. And yeah, what I said last time we discussed XMR was that I believe it's the kind of coin you don't trade below weekly time frame and you bid on weekly trend retest until it doesn't work anymore. And last one was last week, mid-November, I mean. Beside that, it looks very good. It's back at the highs. It's fighting with the highs. Would be sweet to see it retest this region, but in my opinion, XMR being this strong in these conditions while the rest of the market is shit and even the rest of the privacy coins have retraced quite extensively, is saying a lot about what is the true privacy coin. It's spoiler alert, it's not the one that Solana developers want you to think, basically. We don't care much, right? We are trader. If Zcash pumps to 10k, Zcash will be my favorite privacy coin. But if we forget about price, yeah, which coin is the easiest to buy? That should just answer the debate. But in any cases, for XMR, I think it's what I say. The daily chart says a lot about why I say it's the kind of coin you focus on very high time frame and stick to the weekly time frame, because it's very chaotic on any other time frames. It's almost untradeable on other time frames. While the weekly one is pretty clean, it has a clean weekly uptrend that you can focus on. So yeah, kind of coin you focus on weekly and that's it. Genuinely don't have much more to say about it. Good coin. Good coin. Come on, BT. Come retest 87.5, 88k. You can do it. You know you want to do it. You know you want to finish the late shorters. Okay, ING, and then we will finish with SPX, okay? ING short potential to 4.2 area. Poor ING. ING used to be one of my favorite coin to trade. And you see Toji, it's the same thing than AVAX that we discussed earlier. You do have daily trend retests, but in my book, because I'm greedy, I wanted to see H4 200 MA retests from the last time I mentioned it and covered it, but it didn't even manage to get to H4 200 MA retests, while even Bitcoin managed to do so, which says a lot in my opinion. In any cases, very clean daily downtrend. As long as it's the case, ING is a short. Any retest of H4 200 MA are a shorts until it's broken. And I don't know, it looks like something that's gonna fill the gap the week from 1010, to be honest. But I'm trying to see why you think 4.2. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Pippin, hasn't it been the coin that just got turbo wrecked? Turbo wrecked on Binance, or I don't know what. Let's take a look at H4 for potential setup to G. We absolutely slayed ING at the end of 2023. This is what trading shitcoin used to be. Compounding on compounding, trend gets disrespected, you get the fuck out, you wait for the compression, new trend, then it stops working, and you never look back at the coin. Jesus, man. The good old days. But anyway, let's take another chart. I'm gonna leave that to the history books. Okay, so on H4, it already gave the H4 trend retests. But beside that, Toji, I would agree that if you get the opportunity of an H4 trend retest, whether it's at current levels or below, then it's a short indeed. Until proven otherwise, which proven otherwise would be a break of H4 downtrend. So yeah, I agree with you, Toji. And that would be as long as sub H4 downtrend and daily downtrend, any retests of H4 and daily downtrends are for shorting. Basically. So yeah, I agree with you, Toji. And I would assume that it's probably something we can apply to a vast majority of shitcoin across the book right now. Because usually lately, most of every time I looked at ING, I was able to go to APT, I was able to go to AVAX, Link, PET, and they all had the exact same structure. And you basically pick one of them, and it's true. So yeah, I agree with you on H4. So you can set some alert at H4 13 EMA up to H4 32 EMA, and if it gives you the retest, that's an opportunity to short in my opinion. It's a good invalidation. If ING sees some strength and breaks H4 downtrend, at this level it would mean that it's also reclaiming a low plus recent consolidation. It's good enough to get out, let it develop, maybe wait for H4 200 EMA. So it's good invalidation. Any invalidation that has the confluence of trend plus horizontal level is a good invalidation to me. Because as I said earlier, if it's an invalidation, I know that I won't be able to discuss or doubt later once I enter the setup, then it's a good invalidation. Anything that can prevent my brain from changing the plan as we go, basically. think I don't mind another global pandemic to get this kind of price action back on shitcoins. Yeah, I mean, personally, it's thanks to COVID that I speedrun my learning in trading. I spent 3 months living in my house of friends with my brother and my girlfriend. Both of us were leaving our jobs, so we basically just day drink every day. I didn't have a shitty COVID, so I would be fine with it as long as it's as inoffensive as COVID was, and at the end, at least. But it would be nice if we could get some trendy price action without the need of these kind of things, to be honest. But yeah, it's fucking insane that it was 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago already. It's fucking nuts. It's fucking nuts. Anyway, SPX, Daddy's coin. Yeah, I meant global pandemic, wink wink. Yeah, I see what you mean. The don't go at your job, but you're still gonna get paid pandemic. SPX. I have some very similar vibes than in this region, but that was the tariff scare, if I'm not mistaken. I would not be surprised if SPX till the end of the year just does that with daily 100 MA catches up, and until we start the year, and the setup unfolds early January basically. So a daily trend disrespected in the middle over here with a clear top, and we consolidate around the daily trends beginning of the year, and at the beginning of the year we either fill the gap to daily 200 GMA, either the burgers find a new trick to keep the Ponzi going. I don't have a strong view. I've seen a few interesting posts on CT about divergences and those kind of things. My main take, if you remember what we discussed through the stream and what we discussed with ZRO, with Zek, when I open a chart and I see that we've had a loss of the trend into reclaim into loss again, my main assumption is job fest more than anything else, because simply it means that there is no trend to respect. I open this chart, you don't tell me it's SPX. This is the main thing I'm expecting. Chop fest around daily trends with potential daily 100 MA and all-time high region retests in between, and we resolve one way or another in January, basically. That would be my main take looking at this chart. Weekly trend is more than intact. What a chart, man. Times 6 in 10 years. That's insane. That's my main take. I'm gonna have to take a closer look at SPX in 2026, because 2026 is the year I start trading stonks. So I'm gonna have to be much more focused on what SPX does and the others. Let's take a quick look at the big names before closing the stream. Jesus, that weekly 100 MA retests, trend reclaim, new all-time high. Reminds me of Bitcoin January 2023. Trend breaks, retest 100 MA, reclaim it, new all-time high. How addicted are you if you can Remember every single daily candles from your asset. Yes. Okay. So Nvidia is back at fighting with weekly trends. What a crazy run. If you cannot see the chart pre 2016, it means that it's been quite something. That's fucking insane, man. What's the stat? One employee out, like 3 out of 4 employees at Nvidia are millionaires or something like this. Is it still true? I think it was at some point at least. Okay. So far the big names are still very much above their weekly trends, whether it's Palantir, Nvidia. Tesla has been doing great. I mean, once again, strong weekly trend, breaks 100 MA. This is your trigger to expect compressions. Come for the exit of the compression, trend not defended, fake out, compression more, exit the compression, defend the trend. Turbo send. I think Tesla is going to be the biggest position for CBS, who knows his shit when it comes to TradFi, so very curious to see how it goes. Meta did great also lately. Yeah, okay. Not too much. Oracle got fucked, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. Oracle is down 50%, yeah, 47% from the top. We are not alone. We are not alone. This daily candle, plus 25% daily candle for a company like Oracle. Insane. Anyway, sorry, I'm just talking in the wind. I'm gonna shut the stream off here. Before I leave, if you need to keep a couple of things in mind, if you're focused on Bitcoin lower time frame, must hold 85, 86k plus Monday lows, Tuesday lows. 87.5, 88.5 plus H4 trend is a must reclaim. Unfortunately, we saw it earlier. We came back all the way up to H4 100 MA only to get denied below. I do think that we could see a retest of this region again, ideally before 85, 86k. But in any cases, these two places are your most obvious focuses. If you're not fancy lower time frame trading, I believe you can forget everything and just stick to the daily trends on Bitcoin. It's been the same one since 112. It's been retested again last week. If/when it breaks, you have your next trade. If/when we break daily downtrend, you have this entire gap to capture. That would be your next big trade, in my opinion. Until then, I think you can relax a little bit on the green button, stay patient, basically just set alerts where the daily trend is and you wait for it to be retested, see how it goes. If at some point you get daily above daily trend plus H4 200 MA flipped, then it's your signal to expect this gap fill the exact same way if BTC did earlier this month. It broke the daily downtrend, broke H4 200 MA, flipped it, fill the gap. That would be the exact same focus, the exact same approach. Outside of that, you can keep an eye on BCH daily fight. If/when it manages to get back above 560, you also have a potential window on it to capture a move back to the highs with an intermediary target over here, for example. Zcash, you can set some alerts at daily 100 MA, forget about it. Pump, you can do yourself a favor and never buy this trash. Sol, that just, I mean, there is no reason not to continue shorting it until not right. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will see you guys probably next week for another public stream, probably the last of the year. I will let you guys know on Twitter and in Telegram when I stream. As usual, I'm sharing the chat request that we covered during the stream if you want to get back to these. Chat request covered during the stream. And yeah, thank you very much for everyone for joining. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the oven for those who are in the oven, and otherwise I will see you guys